That was 2 on Yoda.
All right, we good?
Good.
Oh, okay. Wow, look at that animation.
Who's gonna
All
do
right.
that? 3, 2, 1.
All
Who's
right.
doing that?
All right, and welcome to episode 76 of the GankBush. What? Oh, wait. Oh, God, I heard the audio of my own voice. All right. Welcome to episode 76 of the GankBush podcast. This podcast is the only explicit Heroes of the Storm podcast where we don't eat during the show, and we're made up of hosts of all different play levels. We have players all the way from a bronze type player all the way up to a grandmaster level player. We bring you the latest HOTS news and discuss the latest tips and strategies so that you can be a better player. Let's go ahead and introduce our residential platinum level player. That is Old Backpack, who's calling in from somewhere in Calgary.
Lethbridge, Canada, but yeah, I'm about maybe half an hour north of Montana right now.
Okay, awesome. All right, we'll go ahead and introduce our grandmaster level player. That is Bacon, who's calling in from Atlanta, Georgia.
Hey, how's it going?
Okay, let's go ahead and introduce our diamond level player. That is Scott, who's calling in from San Francisco, California.
Hey, good to be here.
Okay, let's go ahead and introduce our gold type player. That is Byron, who's calling in from Orange County, California.
Hey.
All right.
Awesome.
Let's go ahead and
Awesome
introduce.
room.
All right, let's introduce our bronze type player, who's calling in from my house in Portland, Oregon.
Downstairs.
That is Tower Baron.
Hey there, French. It's good to be here in the Nexus. I just noticed that we do have actually every single podcast host from a different level.
That
That's
is
been our shtick.
arguable considering some people are not placed.
Yes.
I'm totally placed in my mind
In your mind.
and in all of your hearts.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so a little bit of housekeeping. So you can find the podcast as well as links to all of our content at gankbushsquad.com. If you listen to us on iTunes and or Stitcher, please subscribe and or rate and review us. We have a Wintime channel on Discord. We have a Wintime channel in HOTS. Also, we have our own Discord channel. If you have any emails, please email us at podcast@gankbushsquad.com. Also, if you like to support us, we are on Patreon. And and so that's pretty much it. So Bacon has a production note about the stream on Twitter or on Twitch.
Oh yeah, some of the stream stuff's not finished yet. I thought you were gonna read it out loud.
Oh,
Oh, live
You
shows.
didn't hand it off to me or anything, but it's okay. But it's gonna be soon, so it's gonna only look better and better every episode.
Yep.
And then we'll officially be the most handsome podcast for HOTS.
Yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
almost as handsome as you, Dan.
Well, thank you.
so so for the listeners who are listening to this, we are now officially on Twitch. So, and the plan is to continue to be on Twitch. So, one thing that I've been thinking about in general with the show is, I never understood why someone would want to watch people during a podcast. I still don't understand it. But I feel as though that if we're going to be on Twitch and we're going to have a visual medium to what we're talking about, it's only it makes total sense to start having more interactive content so that if someone is watching, they can participate and or see what we're talking about. And the whole thing is that I don't know how that's going to make the audio only listeners feel, because we're going to talk about stuff that we'll do our best to describe it. But I think the if we continue to go on Twitch, is that the primary place to watch us or listen to us is going to be on Twitch now, so you can follow along now. But that said, the show notes at gankbushsquad.com will have links to when the visuals start, so you'll know if you want to come back and watch what we're talking about, you can go. We'll have timestamps of that, so you can come back and just watch that particular section of the show. And so yes, so the show is going to change a little bit. I don't know how much or how little, but it's definitely going to incorporate more of a visual aspect to it than any other shows in the past. So, but that's a quick little tidbit about the show. And all right, so let's move forward.
I
So
have
we
a
want-
question.
Yes.
If we're incorporating more visual content, will you be naked on the podcast?
That is against Twitch terms of service.
It's
So
only
that's
against
Only if
Twitch
you could
terms
choose
of
something.
service.
Strong no.
Yeah. Only if you free the nipple. You can wear pasties.
Wait, even men have to wear pasties?
Were you
I
gonna
don't
pasty
know.
the dick?
Wait, I'm assuming.
If you're David, you should do that, right? I need at least 3
Hey.
pasties.
Hey,
A 3 pasties,
I-
nice.
I'll find a
least-
way. I'll find a way for enough Patreon dollars.
What
Okay.
what he's
Oh.
actually saying is David's been practicing the tuck. You guys don't know what the tuck
Oh,
is?
that's why
I
you want
haven't.
one pasty
They-
to tuck it back.
You know, I haven't
Is that
actually
considered
been
nudity
practicing
there?
TikTok, but I could. Yeah,
Yeah, there's no nudity on the show.
I could.
Yes,
I could
sure.
present the
Not.
mangina. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we wanted to start. We actually have a really good show for you. So we actually had so much to talk about that we had to cut stuff out of the show. Obviously there was no patch, but we actually have a lot of strategy segments to discuss on the show, and we're going to have some visuals, I guess. So we're going to do the return of Bacon's Bits. So we're going to do this one section called fulfilling your role in the team comp. In this section, we're going to focus on supports, and we'll go to Bacon to kick us off.
Gonna let Bacon's Bits fulfill you.
Yeah. So last week we talked about fulfilling your role and maximizing your potential in a given game, but we were kind of broad with that and just kind of hit on topics here and there. And I wanted to start a series where we dive into each role and get as detailed as possible and incorporate video elements into it. So today we're going to do supports because I am a support main. And I guess just to start off, supporting over dealing damage. So you're a support player, but all support heroes can deal damage, but just a little bit. But sometimes it's enough to decide. Oh, okay, Scott just DC'd. Oh, gotta get him back in. But sometimes it's enough to decide a kill or not. And but I suggest that you master support before actually dealing damage. So a dead healer is a useless healer. Sometimes risky plays are necessary, but that job doesn't usually fall on the support's shoulders. It's the job of the tank player or the damage dealer to actually make those risky plays. And
Now-
Hold
now
on,
it's
Vic. You should
Scott's
address
spots.
what Byron's doing right now. Let's
Yeah.
all address Byron and then
I
regain
know.
composure.
I was trying to ignore it, but damn.
No, we're
That's
not that
hard.
professional yet.
All right, we had
Just go
Scott
with it.
DC real quick.
I'm sorry. It was not my fault. The Skype was messing with me.
Mm-hmm.
So, mastery of a hero starts with learning to heal and then learning to damage while healing. So, you know, you're learning a hero and you tend to overextend a lot and die, and that's kind of the same with supports. So, master every aspect of healing just in the back line. That way, when you get that down later on, you can actually do your damage. So,
Yeah, so Bacon, tell us, what is mastering the art of healing?
what's up?
Tell us, what is mastering the art of healing? Like, you
Oh,
press Q,
good
right?
question. Yeah. Well, we'll start with asking the question, what is your hero's niche? So each hero, you know, has a niche to fulfill, and Blizzard has been doing a good job over patches the past couple months in iterating on and narrowing down on a support hero's niche, and you have to figure out what that is in a given game. So Brightwing is a global soaker, anti-dive with her Emerald Wind and Polymorph. Lucio is a anti-AoE burst with his shield at level 10. He's a good chase hero, good late game healing, melee utility, so he enables a lot of melee heroes to do well. Stukov's got the silence, teamfight control, strong poke because of his silence and his W. And a last example, Uther, damage mitigation because of his armor. He enables dives because of his D shield. Easy follow-up CC because he's one of the only heroes with click stun, and he's a tanky body. So,
that Rhaegar is somewhat purposely left from that list.
No, I mean there's a lot of other heroes to go over, but I only picked 4 examples. Why, you want to go over Rhaegar in terms of what niche he fills?
Rhaegar and Malf are basically the exact same hero. So they both provide one kind of CC and a spammable heal on Q.
Rhaegar also has dive.
Yeah, I mean they're the most general heroes. They're the Valas of supports.
The Vala of supporting.
Yep.
Well, it seems like supports only do 3 main functions: heal, actually giving you life back, mitigating damage, and CC for dive. I guess you kind of said Brightwing is a little bit of split soak, but I think just kind of realizing which type of those 3 things your healing support character has and mastering that, I think that's what Bacon's talking about, right?
Well, they do more than just those 3 things, but
those are the main things, right? I mean, unless you're talking about Medivh, he does like other stuff too. But in general, the other supports do those 3 things. One of those 3 things primarily, or 2 of those.
Yeah, and Rhaegar's got the special ability to finish off kills and things like that. So just keep an eye out for what unique things your heroes can do. And one of the biggest tips I can give, I guess, is to hold your utility abilities and don't just use it for damage. Yeah, hold abilities. I say that with a person in mind. We're not gonna call him out, but his name starts with an F. You can guess.
I'm looking around. Oh, I get it. Okay. I see.
So what's utility exactly? So it's a buff or debuff that's not tied to damage. So an example is crowd control, roots or blinds, armor, movement speed buffs and debuffs. So those are all examples of utility. So using these abilities for damage is a waste. Like Ariel's whip.
Oriole's whip, and then I think also Lily's blinds. Casting that too early, I see that a lot.
Yeah. And those abilities usually have a long cooldown, so you only cast it once or twice in a team fight. So be sure to hold them. So ask yourself with your abilities, can your abilities be a part of a crowd control chain? So for example, there's Brightwing's polymorph, Ariel's whip, Malf's root. Like Malf's roots is most famous for being part of a CC chain after Stitch's hook. And actually I have a video to go along with a Brightwing example.
Nice.
Go to that.
Oh, nice.
Look at that.
We got sick transitions and little theater window that pops up here. I'm loving it.
Yeah. There's
John Madden.
John Madden?
John Madden, come on.
Right.
Show us John Madden.
Boom.
All right, so there's a video right here. And if you see in the middle of the screen, polymorph right after that. So it was quick. I'll go through it again.
I kind of missed that.
Yeah, it was quick like bacon.
Yeah, polymorph.
Oh, yeah.
Just there was a ETC slide, and then right after the slide wore off, there was a polymorph. And what that did was this team fight didn't end up really doing anything except burning Rhaegar's ultimate. And that was important for later on in the team fight because they actually re-engaged and they were able to turn it around because next time they singled somebody out, they died because Rhaegar ancestral.
Nothing to save him,
Yeah.
Oh, what a lick there right before he was getting through that door.
So that part of the CC chain, it didn't immediately kill somebody, but later on, like 20 seconds later, it ended up being useful. So you could also ask yourself, can my abilities deny the enemy's heroic or engagement? So obvious example, polymorphing etc mosh, stunning somebody out of a, maybe like Mouth is about to cast something and you silence him right before. And there is this video here. So right here. If you see right here, Stukov's caught in the root. And he's activated his trait. And if you see up here, he still has his heroic ability left. And in the minimap, you can see his enemy team is moving towards the Haka to save him. But what happens is that there is a silence from Stukov. He's not able to go underground to save himself. And then he gets bursted down before his trait can heal him. And that also means that his team couldn't come to help him in time. Because if Dehaka wasn't silenced, that means he can buy 6 to 8 seconds with his burrow and a trait and heroic. But he wasn't able to use any of it. And that was only because of Stukov's silence that did that. And one of the biggest important things moving on is the front line and you. I think most players, when they think about supports, they think about positioning. But that's it. Like, they're very loose with the idea of backline and frontline, and it's kind of a hectic fight, and sometimes supports are the first players to die, which really shouldn't be the case. So I'd say most healers, with few exceptions like Karazim, belong in the backline during a head-on 5v5 team fight. So if it's a traditional team fight, the supports should always usually in the back. And if you pay attention in HGC replays, they almost always start off like that. So know where the front line is the entire time and your position in relation to the front line. So the front taking unnecessary damage means that you cannot heal your team as much, and that means you might be also forced out of the team fight and not be effective. And the front line isn't static and constantly moves, and there's another right here. So there's a fight over the boss, and right now what happens is the front line is actually over here in the beginning of the clip. But with the engagement over here, suddenly the Brightwing in the back line and the front line are in the same spot because of the engagement of a team expert. And if you kind of see what Brightwing does over here, so with her ability, she makes the front line right here again. And the back line is right here, creating space so that she doesn't get damaged on. All right.
So all that happened within like a second or two. You just have to be on point with your judgment, right?
Yeah. There's
That's why
Illidan
these people are
and
pros.
Yeah, there's Illidan and Genji. Those are backline divers, and they have the ability to shift the team fight and make the front line in a place where Fnatic doesn't want it to be. And Brightwing, with one simple ultimate, was able to change the field of battle. And
you were saying before about holding on. I didn't mean to interrupt, but you were saying before about holding on to your ultimate. In this case, the Emerald went from Brightwing. Is it that Brightwing is just looking for the dive beforehand, like anticipating it?
Yep.
And then waiting for the moment? Because I guess there's probably other opportunities in the fight to use that ultimate, right? But there's sort of like this anticipation of what's going to happen before like it actually does happen, right?
Well, once the dive heroes have already dove in, it's pretty like the team fight's already committed, so you have to use it to win the team fight. If you hold it too late, it might be too late to be effective with it. But when the Brightwing used it immediately, it caught pretty much every single member and was able to split the team fight.
Yeah, I was just saying it wasn't a reaction thing. It was more of like Brightwing knew that they were going to dive at some point and hold it on for that point.
Yeah.
All right.
And this had the effect of splitting the team fight in the middle. So that was also extra bonus points. And then only engage in the front line again if you're confident you can finish a kill or you need to adjust your positioning due to a flank. And if Brightwing didn't have that ability, obviously she would have moved up north ideally to escape. And I have a video to do that where this right here.
So Bacon,
So-
try to set the scene for the audio listeners to really understand what's happening.
Oh yeah. Okay, so this is a fight between Gale Force and Team Expert on Braxis Holdout. And what happens here is that Morales and Vala are retreating backwards, and they feel like right now that Uther is an easy target to pick because he's already at half health. And what happens is Morales throws out a grenade, catches Uther, and makes Uther knocks back Uther towards Vala, gets overconfident. So before this point, the front line was exactly split down the middle, even. And what happens is 2 seconds later, when Morales gets overconfident for a split second, she's in the front line right now for 1 split second, and that's enough time for a Nubarek to get the flank.
The tank
And
comes in the back.
Yeah, she ends up dying because of it. And that clip right there, if you see Morales' positioning, she was only out of position for like a second and a half. Right now she's out of position and she ends up dying for it. And like in our level of Hero League games, it won't be that, crazy of a reaction by the enemy team, but it can happen. So
Yeah, but we should strive to be that good.
yeah. But this is how you carry games, by looking at positioning like this and making sure that you are an unstoppable healer.
By never
healer.
making any mistakes.
That was a map awareness thing too.
Ever.
Yeah. So using the environment to your advantage. Some healers can use terrain for their abilities, like Ariel's Whip, Tacitor Wall, using 2 other walls for a choke and then walling it off. Lucio's Wall Ride obviously gives them a movement speed bonus and, crowd control benefits. And there are definitely other ways to use it. There, like this Morales video. I got another one right here. So if you see, they're fighting over the top shrine, but Morales is hugging this wall. Just hugging the wall right here because it creates a barrier between her and the enemy team. And she hugs that the entire time because she knows that they will not be able to access Morales at all. And what she does is she just bounces healing back and forth between Tacitor and Vala just by hugging this wall the entire time.
Oh, I never knew that.
Really cool.
Yeah. And right here, Anubarak is here. They probably, the Illidan probably saw that rotation and probably called it out. And that is why they run away.
That's why they withdraw.
Yep.
Another thing too I've noticed is that if you're like a really vulnerable, you don't really want to hang around the gank bushes. Like if you're by
you shouldn't
yourself.
face check bushes as a support player.
Well, not even just
Yes.
face check, but even being close to some of the, like the one on the bottom on Braxis, you can kind of see in the bottom middle.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ganks that happen around that gank bush. In my games, at least.
And that's part of looking at the minimap and being aware of players and stuff. And then the last point is cleanse. Pros pick cleanse 100% of the time, but in lower levels, I think cleanse isn't absolutely necessary, like platinum, gold down. I don't think cleanse is absolutely necessary until you move on up. So there are moments like Diablo stuns somebody in a wall, and if you cleanse Diablo's target, his target is able to run away, but Diablo's not able to flip the target over and get an isolation. So things like that if you look out for. And one thing to keep in mind, Unstoppable, which is what Cleanse does, also removes blinds. So if a teammate gets blinded and you cleanse them, they can also keep auto-attacking. So heroes like Illidan and Sonya benefit from that. Or maybe if a hero is low, you can cleanse the blinded carry to finish off that target.
Can you cancel out damage over time?
No.
All right, just throw that in. It's like a status effect, right? Like maybe it's a poison.
Why? When was that ever the case?
I'm just asking.
Oh, all right.
Unstoppable is crowd control only. You know that, right?
Yeah. I was wondering if it removes some sort of status effect.
You can cleanse Dragon Knight from kicking you, or cleanse Anubarak's cocoon. Right?
While cocooned.
No,
Before.
Yeah, it has to be when it lands, yeah.
Yeah.
Before it lands. Okay. And one
Unstoppable, incidentally enough, is also the nickname I have for my penis.
Very nice.
Nice.
What a coincidence.
And we have right here Lunara in the middle of a team fight between Expert and Fnatic. And what happens is that Lunara has bad positioning, gets caught, but cleansed immediately out of it. And if that stun hit when she was at half-life, look at how close the enemy is. She would have been instantly dead, but that cleanse saved her. So yeah, that's it for now. I guess that's the end of Bacon's Bits. We're gonna do this for other roles. Hopefully, I'm gonna ask for Pat's help on tanks, and we'll do carries and melee assassins and ranged assassins and things like that.
So in the future, for the intro to this, can we get The Rock to tell you to know your role on the way in?
That'd be awesome.
Okay. If you can make me that clip.
The shut your mouth and know your role.
Yeah, I will make you that clip. Even if this is my last podcast ever, I will make that clip just because it will amuse me.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh yeah. For those who actually want to watch the video, I'll try to get better at these, but that was a start.
All right, just bring us back to the Twitch comments. First one. Chief Ratchet says, Byron, bring in the A+ content as a comment. And then we have an actual question here from Loxley. So when do you go double support versus single support? Is it based on your own comp or your opponent's comp?
Your own comp.
All right, that's okay.
No, because double
it's
support
based on the healing outfit that your team can
there you
bring.
go.
Right?
It's based on your comp.
So if you have a very, very high healing output hero like a Stukov, like a Morales, there's no reason to bring another support. You bring another support, you're wasting a lot of damage essentially trying to get more healing, which you don't freaking need because that one hero can put out a metric crap ton of healing. Those particular heroes tend to, be more vulnerable, be a little bit less mobile sometimes. You have to make sure that your team is prepared to actually support that support in a way. The rest of your comp is going to be conducive to running a solo support, but usually those heroes, the sort of heroes that you're going to run in a single support comp, are the ones that bring a crap ton of healing to the table. So.
Bringing a crap ton of healing doesn't necessarily mean you don't want a second support. The two reasons to have a second support is, one, you have a hyper carry who's going to do a ton of damage, and to the point where you don't necessarily need another damage dealer on your team, such as Lunara and Vala are probably the two hyper carries right now. And the second reason you grab is
Cassia, if your tanks are good for it.
Yeah, Cassia too. And the second reason to get a support is to cover up for the initial support's weaknesses that you have. So like you have Ariel, where she doesn't have a cleanse, and her healing's on a certain amount, a certain cooldown. If she gets crowd controlled, you want somebody like an Uther to hop in and be able to save your hyper carry from getting bursted down or anybody else.
Yeah.
And usually you're gonna want a very aggressive support though as your second support. Then wouldn't you scout like a Tassadar or something that can?
Well, you usually have Ariel as your support, and usually the combos you can run Tassadar, Rhaegar,
Seen a lot of
Lily
Brightwing.
sometimes.
A lot
Yeah,
of
Brightwing's really good with the because Brightwing has her ultimate was the Emerald Wind, which provides disengage for your hyper carry to not get blown up if she gets dove on. Uther. A lot of those combos are run with Ariel is the main focus.
Lily, Bruiser Lily. Blemsy said in chat. I like Lily.
Yeah, I said I listed Lily in that.
He did indeed list Lily. And is that because the Oriole can't top people off? Or the Oriole can't heal in between, they can't heal poke?
Yeah, and Oriole also doesn't have a cleanse too, so having somebody else to pick up, because Ariel's only life-saving ability is her Aegis, and if you're Aegising like a Vala or a Lunara who's at like 30% health, they'll probably explode whoever's in the radius and give Ariel enough hope to cast another heal, and that'll heal her up. But if the enemy's right on top of her, she's most likely going to die anyway. So that's why you get the secondary support to really keep that carry range DPS alive.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we talk about
one last point is if you go double support, you usually don't want like two solo tank-ish supports, like one solo tank and a divey kind of melee assassin, or maybe a bruiser, high damage bruiser, because you don't have enough damage at that point then. Or a hero like Dahaka who provides a lot of AoE damage or CC.
Yeah, and utility on the other side of the map to force pressure elsewhere while you're running with a strong 4-man.
Yep.
Okay, so before we talk about Sonya, Tower Baron wanted to talk about the Butcher meta at the lower levels.
Yes, I made a comment about this last week with the Butcher changes, where his blood from opposing hero deaths gave you 25 blood instead of 10. It is really making a big effect on the gold level and below. Butcher is now getting first banned in a lot of games.
Really?
And even if you do get Butcher, like say even in the first half of the draft, everyone's going like a lot of blinds and a lot of CC for the Butcher. I think he's the strongest hero right now. And I think when Scott was saying hyper carry, Butcher is that hyper carry in low level games. If you can kind of divine shield him, I think that works really well. I mean, old Backpack run that strategy all the time. He is incredibly powerful. He gets that really big bump in his damage, like really early on if he gets enough kills. It's only 8 kills to complete his quest, just going off the hero deaths. So sometimes you can do it on maybe 7 kills, but you're going to get those kills really easy, assuming you don't die. A lot of people are playing Butcher, like lower levels, but they're still maybe a little bit too ham with him. So I've noticed a lot of people just picking him and still just diving in and getting killed. You're not going to get your quest done if you're dying quickly. So you have to kind of just hang out, sort of poke with your hamstring, your Q, because with your level 1 talent freed up, you have that occurring more often. It gets refreshed more often. You get the mana refund for it. You just kind of poke back and forth with your Q, wait until someone's kind of low, or maybe the opposing team used up their CC, just dive in and get the kills. As long as you get your quest done as soon as possible, you'll be able to carry super hard. So I think Butcher's going to be really, really good right now. And I don't think they're going to change him because this is only really affecting gold level and below. It's imbalanced at the higher levels. So I'm not sure how they're going to fix it. But But yeah, Butcher is super good right now. See him first
Go down
banned.
there.
I think he's in at least half the games I've been in for Hero League.
So Tower Baron, Valera was also a similar status in the lower leagues where she was owning noobs all the time.
The thing
Then
is, when he
Blizzard
gets
decided to
his
nerf it.
his trait, when he gets his 205, 210 bonus damage, he can almost heal from almost no life in like 3 or 4 attacks.
Oh yeah.
That's the biggest difference. And once he gets his trait completed, especially if it's early on, that damage is way more effective earlier on in the game because it's a straight bump in the damage. And so you can just sort of carry games if you can get that quest done really early. And it's going to be easy to get because people are going to die and have these bad engagements or fighting over nothing in these lower level games. And so the quest is going to get done usually, I've seen half the time before level 10. And at that point, you can just dive on anybody, or almost anybody, assuming you don't get CC'd really hard or like the first one into the fight. So I think that's it's really exciting to be a Butcher player right now if you're in the
I
lower
gotta tank
levels.
my rating and start playing the Butcher.
You should. But
Yeah.
I was alluding to Valera to say that Valera was really bad and competitive, but very abusive in the lower leagues, so they nerfed her. The
They
same will
did.
happen. Like it's gonna happen with Butcher because they can't
Oh,
have Butcher
man.
be this. What are we zooming in on here?
Yeah, look at those
Maybe
nice
what are we
full,
seeing
Zoom in
here?
on Valera with the-
nice full lips.
Yep. Nope.
Yeah. A
Wearing
little,
the
They're
nice
little,
chin.
saying stop teasing
little
us. baby.
cheek in there. Yeah.
A little bit of side butt.
Side
A
cheek.
little cleavage, a little side butt.
Next
Yeah.
patch, he's going to get a really good skin, I think.
Oh, Nurok just
Oh.
toasted us for up to 201 viewers, huh?
All right.
Ooh, hey,
Oh, wow.
that's a lot of live
Crazy.
viewers.
Welcome
know,
to the
right?
show, guys.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming out to see the premiere GankBush live vodcast. What do you call this? It's Twitch stream. That's probably it.
It's called a stream.
We'll go
Thank you
with
for
that,
coming
yes.
to Twitch. Very
Yes.
grateful.
The creme de la creme of HOTS information.
Yes.
That's what I call
Oh,
it.
no.
We learned the
No.
we learned the nickname for my penis. We learned
That's
The
Is
pasties
that
for your
unstoppable
penis?
in all caps?
yeah.
Uh,
We learned that if you tuck, it's not against the terms of service on Twitch. All kinds of quality information coming your way.
mhm.
Okay, so it's so we wanted to do a deep dive into the Sonya Burst build. So yeah, so this is our Gank Hero of the Week. This is the Sonya Burst build. So let's go to Scott to talk about it.
All right, so Sonya's burst build. For the, I guess the level 1 ability doesn't really matter that much, but the level 4, you want focused attack, followed by the spear talent.
Poison spear.
Yeah,
Scott,
poison spear.
Read the notes, Scott. It's all there.
Who wrote this out?
It's on the notes. We've prepared.
We're
Got
so
it.
good at these guys.
Yeah.
Where's
So
that?
okay. Yeah. Sorry. And then you can go leap or wrath depending on what you prefer, and depending on whether or not you really think you need the leap to engage and blow up a target really quickly. Versus wrath is more you're doing longer engages, more so against tanky targets because you're not able to get that insta kill with the leap. And Mystic Spear is written down here. I kind of like Life Funnel a little bit better than Mystic Spear. I don't really like Mystic Spearing into the enemy team if you miss and you're standing right next to them with no Fury
Don't
or
miss.
energy.
Don't
Yeah,
miss.
but I mean, if you're going after like a Vala with a small hitbox and she sidesteps a little bit, it's not that hard to miss these squishy heroes you're targeting that have small hitboxes. So that's a personal preference. Generally, you go Nerves of Steel at level 16, which gives you that greater sustain in team fights. That's survivability.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, and if you're finding that you don't necessarily need that, and you're able to just run past their front line and they're not really crowd controlling you that well, you can go no escape, which gives you the move speed to really dive into that back line and stick on those squishies so that they can't escape you. And so
There
they
would
will
be no
challenge.
escape. Yeah.
And level 20, you pretty much always want to ignore pain. The damage reduction and increase to survivability there's no other talent that compares to that.
Yeah.
So the burst build, the goal of that is to burst down a low health pool hero at the start of a team fight. And the combo to do that is for the leap build. This is, you go the leap ultimate at level 10. You leap in, slam, auto attack, cast your spear on that target, slam, and auto attack again. And if you hit this in the right order, your damage will be at level 20. It does 2,419 damage. So it does a really good amount of damage in a short amount of time. And with how quickly you're able to get this combo off, it's pretty rare to get this interrupted immediately. So you got that going for you.
And Dubber Ducky asks in chat, should you ever first pick Sonya? And I would say that's pretty map dependent, but it's definitely possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
on maps where she can do a lot of creeping, I would think that
Blackheart's Bay,
a very, very
exactly,
very, very significant improvement to her just overall utility when the merc camps are higher utility. So on a map where you actually like kind of get something for taking a merc camp, like Blackheart's Bay is the one that jumps to mind immediately. Definitely, she is a top pick. Sky
Temple.
Cursed Hollow.
Mm-hmm.
Blackheart's Bay.
Yeah, you're getting a lot for those the merc camps there too, because you get a lot of drag out fights around the objective where the merc camp will be pushing without anyone being able to break away to deal with it. One thing that's interesting, I think, just to note in general about Sonya is that she is a warrior, but all of her big like survivability talents are her last talents. So most of her survivability actually comes online much later in the game. So she has a lull kind of in the middle of the game where she's a much more fragile warrior than you'd expect.
Yeah, she's got a decent health pool, but she doesn't have any sort of damage mitigation until 16. When you hit 16 and then once you hit 20, you get from tanky to really tanky. But before that, you're squishy. And if they have any kind of stuns on their team or even roots or anything to zone you out during your whirlwinds, you can feel even more squishy to the point where it feels almost like you're like a Li Ming standing in there because you're on top of their team and don't have any sort of sustain, so you could get blown up. So it's really important to pick your engages for that burst combo. One thing that wasn't listed here for me is make sure you have energy going in, because if you leap in with no energy, you can't slam immediately to get that combo started off correctly.
Leap gives a little bit of energy, right?
I'm not sure if it gives you enough to slam. I'd say go in there with a high energy just to be safe, or at least like enough to get one slam off, which is 25.
Yeah, taking or dealing damage, and it does a little bit of damage.
So talk about the pros and cons of doing this particular build with Sonya. Like, why should you go Sonya, and why should you go this build, and when should you not go this build, and so forth.
All right. Well, the pros is it's useful to target heroes with high mobility, because once you get that leap off and they're stunned, you're able to unload your combo really quickly before they could get away. It's really useful against somebody like Tracer, who's really hard to lock down. And if you land this full combo on her, she gets chunked. If she does survive, she's recalling and running away like 10% health.
Well, if she like uses blink, if you see her use like blink twice and then recall, you know that she only has 1 or 2 blinks left, and then you know that she can't really juke you anymore. So you sleep then.
Right.
All right. And
All right.
cons.
Yeah.
So does your stomach hurt? Look alive, bro.
Yeah.
I didn't write all these notes. Pat wrote them. He was supposed to read them, and then he's saying his audio doesn't work. So, all right. So cons is if the target you're focusing gets any kind of support, you know, a cleanse so that they can run away, any sort of something to counter your engage, an Aegis, a Divine Shield, an Emerald Wind, or even a Gust from Falstad. You basically end up wasting your leap cooldown, and your abilities are all put on cooldown so that, you know, you can't really follow up engage that well, which leaves you kind of screwed as far as helping your team.
So just in general, so obviously Sonya shouldn't be the main tank, right? So what type of team comps does she like? What other tank goes really well with Sonya in general? Obviously, it's always team dependent and, you know, counter the opponent team comp dependent. But like in general, do you want to go with another dive tank like Muradin, or do you want someone like Johanna to protect the backline of your friendly team?
Having a dive tank, anybody with crowd control to lock a target down so that you could stay in and, you know, slam and whirlwind and, you know, beat them down is good. So Johanna wouldn't be that good. As far as team comps, your friends are, you know, anybody who could help dive is really nice, like Greymane, or double support to help keep you alive so that, you know, after you unleash your combo, and if they're still alive, or, you know, even if you kill the first target, there's still 4 other people there that could go and try focusing you because you're in the middle of their team. Double supports are really useful.
What about Dahaka, a flanker type of tank?
No, definitely. I would not want a Dahaka on my team because you're going to end up with a Dahaka, a Sonya, and then you would want a real tank on top of that. That's triple melee.
Triple tank.
With not that much damage. It's not that good.
Yeah, that happens a lot at the lower levels where someone will go, you know, Dahaka first pick and Blackheart's Bay, and then they'll go Sonya after that in the next round of selections, which is always never a good idea. So if you want to go Sonya, you got to make sure there's no Dahaka. So
is always never your new catchphrase, Matt?
Yeah, don't.
What? I can't. What'd you say, Pat?
No, I was going to say that the way that Dahaka and Sonya approach the engage is the same. Both of them are flankers. So if both your tanks want to flank, then no one's in the front line.
Sonya doesn't need a flank. She could stand right there on your front line and just wait for somebody to overextend to queue in and slam. She doesn't have to flank like Dahaka.
Well, also, I mean, her ability to flank is worse than Dahaka, but she still does best when she flanks.
It depends on the team comps you have and you're going up against. Sometimes just going in for a face engage, following up your tank, or, you know, if somebody like a Vala gets overextended, you can go and queue in and slam. And, you know, especially if your team's been poking, you know, I've killed Half-Life Valas from just a Q and a slam. She's, you know, really squishy, and Sonya's got pretty good burst. She's basically a spell power melee is what she is. She's a melee mage.
Isn't that more post 16 after she gets her 2 survivability talents, Nerves of Steel and...
No, I mean, that helps your survivability, but that doesn't change the fact that the majority of your damage is coming from spells from either your Ancient Spear, your Whirlwind, or your Slam. Your auto attacks don't do that much.
Actually, when do you pop suppose you're at 16 and you have Nerves of Steel. When do you pop that? Before, after, or during when you're taking damage?
So I'll take that. Usually you pop it when you're at about half health or so, or when you expect to have chain CC be used on you. And so typically I use the stone stain, or Nerves of Steel, if you want to call it that, is used around half health, and then you save the Ignore Pain for around, once that shield burns down. You want to kind of bait the Ignore Pain so you get focused when you have the highest armor on you. If you're using Ignore Pain at full health, you're wasting it.
And you can kind of expect damage at that point because you're in the front line whirlwinding everybody. So
it's really good to use in between whirlwind cooldowns.
You kind of demand attention when you are in the middle of a team fight.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And is David okay with his camera?
There's a moment there where some things happened. I'm not gonna lie.
Behind the camera.
Yeah.
Now his pants are off.
I should have taken my shirt off before I replugged the webcam. So I just showed up.
All right, so
banned for nudity because Byron actually has big tits. Yeah.
Big pasties on. I got well, you guys got to be careful. I got nipples the size of dinner plates.
Oh shit!
That's why you wore the shirt at the kayak.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even because I didn't want Pat rubbing suntan oil all over my back sensually, you know.
All right. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, or to ask about, is the how do you play Sonya in the early game, the mid game, and the late game? So let's go to Scott on that.
Well, actually, if my audio is fine, I'll take that.
Okay, let's go to backpack.
Pat's doing it.
I mean, if the audio is working, that's my biggest problem right now. I'm on some cheap Canada internet. But anyways, yeah, I've been playing a lot of Sonya, and I basically I started playing her because she dominates the solo lane really hard, thus forcing a 2-on-1 in your lane to compensate, which then allows the other team members to do better. And so I picked her mostly because she beats Malthael, Thrall, Dahaka, Rag, Zag, and Zool in solo. Those are probably the most common solos in the game, and you beat all of them, and they force rotations up to stop you. And so you really just want to be as aggressive as possible. And to do that, you Q only to hit the hero if he ever tries to approach you. And if not, you're just spinning on top of the enemy minion wave. But when you spin, you really want to spin in the middle of all 7 minions to get the maximum healing. And by doing that, you clear the wave, thus giving lane pressure and get full sustain. It's literally probably the best solo laner in the game. So that's in the early game, and once you have the wave pushed out, you can then actually go back from your lane and usually get a Merc camp or so. Or if you're on a creep map, say like Blackheart's Bay, you can then start getting the Siege Giants, then rotate up to get the Bruisers. And that's kind of what you do. You just dominate the lane, force rotations. Once you force the rotation, your team then succeeds elsewhere.
I actually had a question for you that was on my mind that actually came up on the Twitch.
Hmm?
Can Sonya actually beat Zagara? Zagara, I think, is the king of the solo lane, I always thought.
No, you Q the Hydra, then spin on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can definitely you can push Zyra out of lane if she's not being careful.
Yeah, you have
good Zagara will probably beat you though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She
Well,
can abuse her range.
If it was Rich playing Zagara and another Rich playing Sonya, then maybe the Zagara would win over time. But like as a Sonya, watch out for roach drops and make sure you move out of those because that's the only thing that Zagara is going to be looking for besides putting his W on Sonya. So try to bait out the Hydra like right next to the lane. That way you can queue into the minion lane and whirlwind both the 7 minions and the Hydra all down at the same time.
Yeah, you also want to You want to spin on her roaches too. That's just more damage you deal, so it's more healing you get.
Yeah,
because most Zagaras drop their roaches, on their minions, so it's like, oh, more healing for me.
And roaches aren't high priority because they don't prioritize heroes. So just prioritize that Hydra with the spear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so once you hit level 10, if you see a nice squishy target, say like a Jaina or a KT or hell, even a Chromie, it's literally a one leap, one kill sort of mentality. of where you want to have your full combo of leap, W, auto attack, Q, W, auto attack. And if those who don't know, after you cast W, the auto attack is instantaneous. It does it automatically just by the ordinary AI will do it. So you don't actually have to press like right click. It's really nice that the game will auto attack after the W just by itself. So it lets people like Fringe get free auto attacks in. It's easy.
Yeah, that was
Fringe
something they
guy.
changed like a year ago because she was really clunky with her slam. Like the auto attacks like was much slower, and you had to like retarget.
Yeah.
So that was a good fix.
It's similar to the Butcher, where after you use your hamstring, you get the free auto attack afterwards. It's very, very similar. But yeah, that whole combo of, leap, Q, W, it's leap, slam, spear, slam, and that's basically all your DPS. The auto attacks happen, without you even noticing it. And so once you find a squishy, you burst and you kill them. And if you do it on the back line, you probably will die after that because you don't have your survival talents up with Nerves of Steel. But it's normally be a 2-for-1. Or if you kill their support, you win the team fight automatically thereafter. So it's usually worth it. Don't try not to die, but it might happen because you don't have the talents yet. And late game, once you have your survivability, you can actually dive, burst someone, use your survival talent, and then be essentially dominant in the back line. But yeah, I was doing this a lot with the win timers, and I was getting top damage, top tank, top EXP pretty regularly. And that's why I made this whole.
Probably getting matched up against scrubs.
Yeah,
was.
Sonya isn't the
Scrubs.
top damage most of the time. A lot of the time, she's the lowest damage dealer on your team.
So when Fringe is Vala, I'm top damage.
Turn that around.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean
burn
Sonya is
Fringe.
good. That just means you're a
No.
better player.
It was like
I
1,000.
know.
It was like 1,000
Yeah.
damage.
You using your build to beat down people who you're mechanically and just overall better than.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just that
Not sound testing for your build.
No, I'm just saying that it's able to burst down a low health target and people who overextend. It's kind of similar to the Murden at level 16, where you're able to leap on someone and kill them, and it's entirely controlled by you. There's no sort of team to rely on. There's no sort of like, oh, I'm ETC, I have a mosh pit. Where's my team doing damage? Like, no, you kill your target. So it allows you to be, independently dominant. And if you're on Hero League, you want to be independently dominant. And that's kind of why I made this build. And I have a 65% win percentage with over the last 40 games. It's not
In
quite
what
Murden
rank?
build.
In what mode?
It's been unranked.
Yeah, and what level
Yeah.
of players are you going up against?
It's with it's various people. It's unranked.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what players. Random
Yeah.
players.
I'm just saying that this build has
I
worked
could have been
very
played
well.
against Rich in one of those games.
I did play against Rich. Zagara beat me apparently. But yeah, that's the full build. And if you just want to, try to carry with a warrior who's able to creep, wave clear, burst, and basically do a lot of things very well, I think Sonya is the hero you should really put time into.
Yep.
All right. Is there anything else about Sonya at all?
I think we're good.
Mhm.
That was a deep
I-
dive.
I just
That
want
was a
Deep
pretty
dive.
Deep dive.
That was really deep.
Mhm.
So that's
I
what we
just
do
want
here.
Pat to know that no matter how deep he dives with Sonya, he is my hero.
Thank you.
Truly.
Ooh.
Okay. All right, so I'm actually just going to skip. I just want to go straight to the HGC and what we look for. What about that? Is that okay?
You go right ahead.
Well, I want to talk about the Eastern Clash and
All right,
how
all
the
right.
East and West
Yeah, we
match
got to
up.
rag on Rich, who is shriveled
Yeah,
in the sun.
especially with Bacon like all over MVP Black, and they just look like shit.
Should
Yeah.
I just turn my webcam off since I didn't watch either of these two tournaments?
No, we still enjoy
In
your
shame,
commentary.
In disgrace. Oh man.
All right. So basically, was it L5-1, right?
Yeah, L5 won the tournament.
So L5 beat MVP Black in the finals, and I mean, again, this is another situation where MVP Black is the favored team, but when they play live on the big bright stage, they tend to shrivel up like a pickle in the sun. right? I mean,
Pickle
Ooh.
Rick.
A pickle.
is this
Rick,
like
I'm a pickle.
yeah? I mean, so like
I'm rich. I'm a pickle.
I can't watch
It-
the HCC, guys. I'm a pickle.
yeah. So, but like, isn't like, is anyone shocked to hear that now that they go in hyped and they can't perform? I mean,
Well, they
It's like
won
it's
happened
the.
before.
Are you saying that if they get too excited that they can't perform? That,
Yeah, they
Fetal
won the
performance
Eastern
anxiety?
Clash dominantly in the first half of the year.
yeah, but that
But
was with the
they're-
old roster though,
Yeah,
right?
it's a different team now, but MVP Black just looks sloppy. Like Rich, from what I saw, he had moments where he really shined, but he just did not seem to play well with the team. There were too many times where I saw him, running around the solo lane like mid-game and with an objective popped and that, MVP Black won and he's out there in the solo lane trying to get EXP and L5 just says, fuck the objective, like on Infernal Shrines or whatever, they say, oh, we'll let the Immortal run right past us. We're just going to dive your 4-man with our 5-man and beat you down. And they got slaughtered multiple times. I'd say I saw that happen half a dozen times in the games that they lost to Tempest and L5. And, Rich just kept doing the same thing. And he'd also
just
be getting picked
Kept
off
trying
a
to be
lot.
so aggressive, but the team wasn't just following him, and he got. Like, I think L5 was ready for that. I think that was their specific teamfight plan every time, every game, just to wait for Rich to overextend by drafting very sustaining cups and just
Yeah.
focus him when he eventually overextends. And I think he was pretty tilted towards the end of the series because he just kept dying by himself.
Yeah. And that was
So-
like the worst performance on Spider Queen I've seen, where they had 4 web weaver pushes, one of them with a boss, and they couldn't get one keep down.
Yeah, one thing about MVP Black is that they have Kyocha, right? He's on support now, and you can totally see a dramatic decrease in level of play versus him versus Mary Day. It's
Yeah.
pretty like his Malfurion is like, I don't know. It doesn't like it's pretty bad, but so I think a
better
lot of it
or
has to-
worse than my Malfurion.
it's better than yours, but it's just more like
Thank God.
yeah. No, but like in that particular game that you're referring to is that they lost that team fight at the very end is because their Malfurion didn't cast Twilight Dream fast enough before the Sanctification came out, and I'm pretty sure if Mary Day was there, that Twilight Dream would have been casted on time after the before like the team fight started. So I think some of it has to do with the support not enabling Rich as much as well. So it's not just one thing.
Yeah, but the way he was playing when the team wasn't around him,
Oh yeah, no, that's
didn't
bad.
look
That's
good.
bad. Yeah, that's bad. And it's funny that they still put him on these bruiser flanker tanks still sometimes. They put him in Chen and Lee Oric or whatever. And I don't understand that. Why would you have him on your team and put him as Chen or Lee Oric? Like I don't get it. But
He played Chen, Leoric, Malthael, and Illidan, and Zeratul once.
Yeah.
That's all he played.
yeah, so I don't know.
mean,
Well,
Rich plays solos. That's the thing. He is quote unquote the best solo laner in the world. He got picked off and wasn't very good this time, but he just plays solos, and those are all solo heroes.
Yep.
He's kind of stunted up.
okay.
And apparently, pretty much every Chinese team had a sub because of Visa, like always.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
disappointing.
I thought that we were working on a Visa, what's it called, exception process for esports athletes.
I don't know, but they played
Does
in
it not apply to China?
They played in Korea, right? Like they weren't playing in the U.S.
Oh, because I think
This
the United
is an
States,
Eastern clash.
yeah.
They weren't playing in America or anywhere in the Western Hemisphere.
Because I know that in the United States that there was a big to-do about bringing people in for esports tournaments and having problems with that and about the money that those events generate. And I believe that I think it was probably for Worlds that was at Madison Square Garden for League of Legends. There was a lot of hey now, that there was actually an exception made. There was actually an exception made to allow esports athletes to enter the country on an expedited visa so that they could get all of the teams there to actually play live, which is obviously very important, for live esports events. So, that's unfortunate. I'm really shocked.
StarCraft and League and these big ones.
Yeah, but I'm really shocked though that Korea does not have, all this figured out way before us. Like, you'd think that we wouldn't be leading the way on anything related to esports compared to Korea. And
Korea visas are
regardless
fun for the most part. It's all about Chinese visas.
Oh, that's true. It could be on the Chinese side. They could be this person.
It's been on the Chinese side.
This person will defect.
There's been zero problems from Korean visas.
They probably, using their Big Brother software, found out that this one person once said something critical of the party, and they thought that maybe they'll leave, and then the GDP and won of whatever, how much they would. I'm never going to China after this rant, by the way.
As I understand it, it was actually from the U.S. side.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, let's go back on the topic now. So I guess, is it pretty much assumed that Fnatic is the front runner, easily the front runner for BlizzCon now?
Yeah. The East didn't look good. I think Expert might be better than L5. The way Expert played was extremely clean. Fnatic just played better than them, and the Eastern Clash, everybody looked kind of sloppy.
They're not polished. If Expert can bring their overall level of play up, that their consistency will help them carry a long tournament like BlizzCon, rather than Fnatic just got by and kind of talent was playing a little sloppy.
No, Fnatic played very good during the tournament as well. But I'm just saying, the way Expert played, if they played as they did at the Western Clash at BlizzCon, they beat all the Korean teams from what I saw.
Yeah, that's if they actually get to go to BlizzCon. Unfortunately, because I think Liquid has the best, as of right now, has the better chance, but Liquid's not good.
Liquid did not look good. Fnatic.
It's top 3 going to BlizzCon.
Yeah, but Dignitas though, right? Isn't it for the whole year standings?
Yeah, I think Dignitas. Is it for the whole year? It doesn't reset for the second half. I thought it was second half.
I think it resets for the second half.
Yeah. So hopefully Liquid doesn't go. I'm actually actively rooting against them now. So.
Oh damn! Look at this guy. I don't have a favorite team, but I know who I want to lose. He says.
No. Expert's my favorite team. Expert's my favorite team. So.
Yeah, I like watching Expert.
It changed at that Fnatic. What's your favorite team?
No, I've always liked Expert.
I like
when they were called. What were they called before Expert? Like Team 8 or something, or whatever they were.
Not to be confused with Team 10.
For that.
That's Roll 20.
Well, they were called something else before Team Expert. I forgot the name of them, but I really liked them before that because they would do in scrims they would do Gazlo and shit like that. So that was back when Kaldor was doing the streams back in the day.
So Double Ducky said in chat there's still playoffs. Yeah, so the top 2 at the end of the regular season are automatically through, and then
it's a BlizzCon?
place, third place through 6th place play that step ladder playoff thing, where 6th place versus 5th place, winner versus the 3rd place, winner versus the.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Well, good.
Right. And if you're 3rd place, you only got to win 1 match. If you're 4th place, you got to win 2.
Yeah, because what actually got me, I forgot all about this actually, but what actually got me mad is that when Expert beat Liquid at the Western Clash, Liquid went to the front of the stage and started clapping to all the fans. I mean, what the fuck is wrong with you? You got 3-0'd. You got your ass handed to you. You're going to clap in front of everybody? Go fuck yourself. You should go back in shame. Wow. Go home. Go
till today.
Matt is telling you how to have integrity to get your ass spanked in esports.
Please tell us how you really feel.
No. If you get your ass handed to you, you should not be clapping to everyone. You should be
pulling your punches today, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, man. Hey.
Should they maybe have to wear conical hats that just say shame on them?
They should.
Yeah, they should just
because
the event
There's a
organizer just
Blizzard
bring those out,
employee just
put them
standing in the
onto
side
yeah.
with 5 hats ready.
Yeah, and if you clap, they just put you right in the pillory.
yep. Anyway,
Wait, the what?
you shouldn't be
Hillary.
happy. This is the bottom line. You should not be happy that you got dominated. We'll put it that way. You should not be excited about that.
Some people are very excited to get dominated. That's how dominatrixes
Wow.
make their money.
I
Wow.
did get third place, though. That's not too bad.
Yeah, but it was NA though, so ugh.
Oh, there
Someone
it
actually
is.
asked in the chat.
Matt
it's
hates
like-
America.
until-
That's why he watches the Young Turks.
It's
Yeah,
like
they got
it's like
third
being
place in the real tournament, which is essentially last place.
let's it's like being the prettiest girl in South San Francisco. It doesn't really mean very much. So
Oh.
so let's move on. So
It's a deep burn.
but all right. So Loxley had a question for us a few days ago in our Discord channel, and he asked, "What do you watch for when you watch the HGC? So what do you look for?" So we'll go to Old Backpack first.
So what I do is I just watch one hero that I want to practice. And so in this HGC with Korea, I was watching the Leoric build, the Leoric Royal Focus build with the Lingering Apparition. He was able to clear 2 lanes faster than anyone else in the game. He used to give the other 4-man.
Hey Pat, your audio skipped.
Really
Your
annoying.
audio skipped. Do it again.
That's
All right.
Oh.
Hello.
Uh-oh.
Let's go to somebody
The old
else.
Canadian
I'll do it.
internet.
Oh,
I'll do it.
Justin
I'll do it.
Trudeau thought he was
Canadian
saying
internet.
something negative about him. Look at it.
All right. So all right,
Yeah,
I'll do it.
that's
I'll do
right.
it. I'll do it.
Oh, he's
So
back.
is he back or no? I
Is
can't
he?
tell.
I'm back, but don't trust
he's
the internet,
back.
Gary.
All right. So this is what I do.
Canada's not working very
Don't
well.
trust me because I'm Canadian, he says.
All right. So when I want to learn how to play Leoric, so I focused on Leoric, and I learned that Royal Focus, the Royal Focus build was really good at wave clear. So it's kind of like you could use them in a way sort of like you would Zool. So that was really something really cool. So you can watch how pro players create builds for specific use cases, and then they apply it, and you can watch it. And another thing to look for is I finally have a TV, and I bought a Roku. So now I can actually watch the minimap in the bottom right, and it's actually pretty big, so I don't have to squint anymore. So you can actually watch rotations of teams and what they do and how they utilize the minimap when they're playing as well.
But you don't see fog of war when you're watching the games. The whole map is open, though. That's one thing that doesn't carry over, right?
Or you can infer what vision the players see just by the color of the minimap. Like, not hard.
Yeah, but
All right,
it's
I'm
good
just saying.
to just watch how teams rotate, and how they go for picks. You know, one of the things that's really important to look for is when they go for picks and they hide in a gank bush. Sometimes those heroes will sit there for a long time. If you watch Team Expert in the Western Clash, you know, he was really good at setting up picks, and he would go around during the early game. He'd go around to the opponent's side and come from that side to get a better angle on the picks, and he caught a lot of them off guard. And he would, you know, be very patient and waiting for somebody to overextend before it went in. Where a lot of people, when you go for picks in, you know, games at our level, and the lower down you go, the more impatient people are, where they run up to the you go from like mid to top, and you say, okay, I'm here, and then you just rush in, and you miss your opportunity because there was none, because you didn't want to wait long enough for somebody to push out a little bit further.
Yeah. And the lower level you go, the more you be rewarded for being patient, because lower level players don't look at the minimap, so they'll tend to push out lanes more. Isn't that right, Tower?
Well, I think we should actually stop calling them lower level. It should be common level players. You know?
Oh, the
Oh,
wait, is
common
low level
players.
Common
It's not
is-
really
low
lower
common
level
is
level.
Byron.
triggering for you?
Common
low
level
level
is
6%.
Byron.
triggering?
You're
Golden
actually
below.
lower level.
Another thing I think that's good to watch is the tanks, to watch how they scout. That is really important. The lower level, you go, like people don't do that. Like I was playing a Hero League game with Grizzly and Jiggly the other day.
Team League.
We were playing a team league, and it was on Brax's holdout, and there was a fog of war, and I'm following. I run over and shoot into the bush, and I saw Jaina fire off like one bolt, but I didn't hit anybody with my my volley or whatever. Vala's AOE. So I ran into the bush. They were all like right next to the bush and came out and ganked me. And Grizzly and Jiggly are like, "What are you doing? You shouldn't have been there." And probably shouldn't have been there, but it's the tank's job to go in front of the team and like scout that. Like you should always be looking to be in front of your team to create vision, so that you could see where the opponent is. You could catch rotations for somebody trying to gank your team.
It sounds like Scott just overextended. I'm just kidding. I agree with you.
I went to scout that while Jiggly while Grizzly was capping the point with like a healer and somebody else. Like he didn't need to be there.
Maybe you just think Scott overextended because you lack vision, Matt.
It's possible.
I didn't hit anybody with my my volley. It seemed safe. I mean, I probably shouldn't have went in there, but my point of the tank should be out in front looking to scout. If you're running as if you're starting to group up past basically post mid game, that is one of a tank's biggest responsibilities that a lot of people ignore. And then people get surprised when the enemy team comes out of a bush and ganks your team.
And that phenomenon is why we named our podcast What We Did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but
no, it's 'cause I thought of it and I threw that out there, but
yeah, I thought Scott did. But anyway, that
works
doesn't
too.
matter. But anyway, but yeah, I guess in general, just watch one class of heroes. So if you're a support main, just try to focus on that. If you want to get better at Gray main, just watch Quacknix and you're good. But don't watch anyone on Temple Storm. But anyway, yeah. Anything else?
You see this?
Ah.
Okay.
Salt?
All right.
oh, that's salt. That's right.
All right. So this is the end of their show. So we have an email from a listener.
Oh yeah.
It came from Splash Gizmo. So I'm just going to call him Gizmo because
We're
He's Rainbow
skipping
Gizmo.
Heroes. Toxic
What?
Heroes.
yeah, we'll just say that for the next show. It's already been like an hour and a half, I think. Right? Well, I've been recording for an hour and a half. Yeah, it's been an hour and a half. So let's.
All right.
I'm sorry. Yes, Tire Baron.
No, I thought we were doing pretty good on time, but you can skip to the email.
Well, old backpacks. Internet's not going too well, and so. But it's okay. We have tons of stuff for the next show as well. All right. So anyway, we have an email from Splash Gizmo, who I will just call Gizmo. So it was a really, really long email. So I'm not going to read the entire thing. So I'm just going to read the parts where he compliments us, and that's about it. So yeah. All right.
Nice.
So he says your show has amazing potential. Most podcasts are mediocre players with worse game knowledge of the game. They have the ability to take up an hour and a half spitting out the same patch notes and game news that I've heard on 5 different podcasts. Excellent work on the show. Amazing showcase of knowledge. It makes your podcast stand out, and it doesn't have to be just the jokes. Realize how much better you are than even some of the professional casters and longtime shows out there. Half the players on the show, or half the co-hosts on the show, are better players than people being coached or people being paid to coach. So there you go. That's a very nice email.
That's a lot of praise just being heaped on us.
Yeah, his overall question was to incorporate more strategy-related stuff, and we actually did that in the show.
Which we've
So
tried to do today, yes.
Yeah, so
Which was maybe a little
Despite-
too much, but
This might be talking out my ass the entire time, which was mostly the function I served.
but
After
anyway,
reading that email, I think David's feeling a little unstoppable right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
just like my penis.
you got cleansed. All right, so
Just like that was the reference.
Yeah.
We have a request in chat for toxic heroes.
Oh,
There-
someone
there is
wants
a
to see.
request.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Go ahead, Tower Baron.
Backtracking.
Go ahead, Din.
Well, I think you're referring to toxic heroes as in just the heroes themselves you can pick, not actually the player. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Is
so
this your topic? Okay.
no, it was
Yeah.
my topic.
Heroes
Okay.
that lend to a toxic atmosphere because you don't
So
want
it's
to
not
play
even the
with
player. It's just picking the
Alright.
hero at the.
Yeah.
It's the right hero at the right time. It's just going to make everyone pissed off.
First
Yeah,
pick
so
out.
it's not even first pick allegory. It's about like heroes that fit the meta and are actually contributing to the game, but it feels bad to play with or against. And like the prime
Oh.
example before his nerfs was Genji.
Mhm.
Like Genji was great at killing people, but it felt horrible to play against because like you felt like you couldn't do anything in the game.
Nova is also a character who can fit into this category, depending on her nerf buff cycle. Can be a character who is either very, very frustrating to play against, or who it is very, very frustrating to watch someone on your team draft. She tends to hit that balancing act in a very
Yeah.
precarious way, where like someone drafts her and you're like, wow, you didn't read the patch notes, huh? Well, glad this is going to be a 4v5. Or just you're like, well, this person can hit their combo, then one of our heroes on our team will just die before they can do anything or react to whatever. So
Well, I think most of this
Jesus,
applies
don't
to Hero League, right? Because if you're playing quick
Oh.
match, you can. If everyone plays just whatever, you kind of like, well, it's quick match. That's what you kind of say to yourself. So most of this is going to be, I think, Hero League.
You could apply to
and
unranked draft too.
Maybe I can maybe extend it a little bit to unranked draft, but even unranked draft, it doesn't feel as bad as if you're doing Hero League, and like you really want to play your best, and then sort of like if someone picks that first hero that kind of handcuffs your team into playing a certain way or playing characters that you don't want to play, it just feels bad. Like Hammer, I think was one I don't like. It comes out in
Hammer.
the beginning because then you have to babysit the Hammer kind of, or else you're going to play
Hammer.
down, like a character the whole time, where you have to kind of have a lot of support for that character.
Hammer is
So-
My
pretty
level-
rank specific though, in my opinion.
At my level or above, the Butcher actually kind of falls into that category, where if someone picks the Butcher really early in the draft, you just know everyone's just going to choose disengage heroes, and you're just going to be so fucked the entire
Still,
time.
actually,
Yeah, just
you okay with
boned.
Butcher now.
No,
Even first pick,
first pick Butcher.
a little
says this
bit.
guy.
Like not all. You can't dominate as if you picked them second half of the draft, but definitely first pick is.
Sure,
that
if
kinda
your
gets you
game's
pissed
going to
off.
have like 40 kills in it, then fine, the Butcher could be played. But like, oh man,
By the way,
that spinning wheel.
Tiger
he's
JK from No Tomorrow is in HOTS, and is in not HOTS, the chat. And
Oh.
hello to him, and he just got recently sponsored, I think, by Space Station Gaming, right? Was it?
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Oh, he's got
Space.
Uriel and Abathur listed as most toxic.
It,
I'd go with Abathur. I'd agree with that. Uriel.
Abathur definitely.
Yeah, Abathur's the worst. No one
Yeah,
wants to play with
especially
an Abathur.
Sometimes if somebody tells me they're gonna play Abathur and I am the ban, I will ban Abathur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chromie used to feel toxic to play against, or even to have on your team, where she's just sitting in the back line and just like super squishy. Although you can counter her a little bit better with dive heroes now.
Medivh, I hate seeing a Medivh like early pick. It's like, damn it. I know you're gonna suck with Medivh.
I hate seeing a Medivh at all.
Yeah.
I know you're gonna suck.
At
I know you think
bronze,
you're good with Medivh, but you're not good with Medivh.
yeah, that would be bad. At diamond, when somebody picks Medivh, I'm like, okay, they must be pretty good with Medivh. So I don't really hate on that pick.
See,
But
at my
then again,
level,
you can be
when
like
someone-
you can be an okay Medivh, but not be effective in the game, right?
Yeah.
It just
Yeah,
feels like you're
exactly.
just slowly losing over time.
See, at my level, a Medivh is kind of like a Targaryen child. You know, the gods flip a coin.
Oh, of course.
He could really go either way. Like he's either going to be player of the game, or he's just going to be a sadist who's just sent to make your game just such a fucking unpleasurable experience.
Nowadays, I think a really good Stukov is cancerous. Not
Really?
Silence is so bad to play against.
I love that
Yeah,
sound.
especially when it's a follow-up to any sort of crowd control.
Or when you're
You get a
trying to defend
coordinated-
a.
You like
You try-
get your 5-man to do a coordinated attack on a player, and Stukov sees that coming and casts lurking arm where it's gonna happen, and you can't do anything. He's like, oh,
Yeah,
I guess we're
or
stuck
if
here.
you're laying siege to the enemy's base, you cast your silence at the opening of their gate. So anybody who wants to attack has to like run through their gate silence to run in front to hit you and just lose them
There's
all.
no way to bob and weave at all to try and defend your gate. You just either have to walk all the way to the other side silenced, or you have to just stay on the other side and wait for them to break it down.
Yep. And
That's
what
pretty
happens
troll.
is all those players, like, they can't really decide if they want to go past or not, so they just stand in it more.
Another pick that I really hate to see is when someone takes Zul'jin and takes Guillotine.
That's super
That's
rare,
very
though.
specific. That's specific.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the
buffed.
problem is you don't
Is
know
that
you're
viable?
being trolled
But
until
Trojan's
level
not
10.
really in the meta right now, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not viable, but he's super not viable without Taz Dingo. That's what I'm saying. Is once you get to that level 10 region and you just see that guillotine come out, you're just like, oh, I didn't even know until now. I had to get halfway through this game to know my carry was terrible. Like,
Well, I mean, guillotine's actually not so bad. It got buffed, and the cooldown's like 20 seconds.
I
right?
don't believe you.
30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, it's
If you're
pretty.
really safe on the back line and you don't think you're going to get dived that much to where you're going to be using Test Dingo, like rarely or if at all, then, guillotine.
Yeah.
Why not? The only thing is guillotine's like the time between when you cast it and when it falls is really long, so it's really hard to
It's like
hit.
a second.
Like, yeah, it's like a second. It might be more than that. It's not really. I haven't used it enough to find it to be reliable damage.
But generally, with that build, you would go the mage build, and that also usually incorporates going the healing talents too.
That's,
So you
that's
go-
what we all need is
And
a self-healing mage fucking Zul'jin. That's what everyone wanted from
And
that
at level
that hero.
20, level 20, you go the root, which is actually really good now because of the lower cooldown. You root for 3 seconds or something like that.
Yeah,
you
it's
cast the
3
double
seconds
axe.
downset too, I think.
You go upgraded axe, so it goes back and forth twice, so it hits him twice, and then you drop the guillotine on top, and it does like, you can almost one
It's
shot
just
low.
such a specific
characters.
build.
Yeah.
At level 20, it's so good, says Bacon. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Well,
wait
there's,
till
like-
20 and you'll come online, guys.
Yeah.
Well, there's Nazebo, and Nazebo is viable, but he only truly comes online at level 16. I mean 20.
But he's
Wow.
still pretty good before 20.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
okay, I'll
at
give you
20, he goes from being like average to maybe slightly subpar. It depends on whether you're whether or not you can hit the zombie walls, to just an absolute beast at 20.
Also,
Okay. Here's
for the
another
Nazebo
toxic
players, stop getting Nazebo in 2-lane maps, please. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm tired of you silver level players doing that. Don't do it anymore.
He's
So-
not
Well,
even viable on every
they
3
would not go
lane.
spider build then. They would go like, toad build or something weird like that actually has damage
Yeah. Anyway.
before level 20.
Oh.
All right.
But,
well,
Here's another thing
yeah.
that I consider toxic, and I say this as a person who's played a lot of Morales. People who play Morales and are solo queuing. Don't be that guy. Don't do it. If you do not have a microphone and you are not talking to people you trust, do not play Morales. It's not worth it for you. It's not worth it for your team. That hero should be like Cho'Gall. Your team should have to consent. That's all I'm saying.
There was a Reddit post like earlier this week that had a Morales hit level 100. And that is a person who truly hates himself.
Yeah. That's because Morales is a codependent hero.
I mean,
It's a
I like
glutton for
Morales, don't get me
punishment.
wrong. I'll
You
pick
know
him
that
up.
person is like the incarnation of the Oedipal mother.
Okay.
What is that?
Was that too cerebral?
yeah.
They're
All right,
codependent.
yeah. Well, all right. Now we're teetering out now. So
Well,
maybe we
Lucio
should
too.
call it.
This is by popular demand. One
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
One
Give
person.
the fans what they want.
And
All right,
Tiger
so I
JK
think,
also said Ariel, which is I think really good pick.
Yeah.
I guess because if you see pro play, it's 100% pick or ban rate, and all you have to do is pick a partner hero that goes with the battery, and then maybe a second support, and you're freaking good to go because that fucking Ario has infinite hope, and your hard carry will never die. So, and by the time you actually get a good engage to kill that hard carry, there's always Aegis to fuck him over.
All right. So,
I just wanted to add one more.
Okay.
About when someone picks a mage and then someone else is showing another mage, it's going double mage. That always kind of pisses me off too a little bit. Going double mage, that seems to never work. That pisses me off.
Don't go double mage. It's actually statistically backed up. If you go up in hot slugs and view double mage comps, if you go one mage, it's fine. And then if you go double mage, you actually tank your win rate by half or something.
So,
I've lost to triple mage before.
Well, I'm not saying it's zero. I'm not saying it's zero, but I'm saying it's shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
You can blow people up really quickly. It's live or die by the blow up.
But what if they get past the blow up?
Yeah, then you lose. That's when you die. That's not the living part.
All right. Let's. I guess we're done, right? So let's. Let's go to Tower Baron.
And that's our show, and we'll see you in the Nexus.
We didn't do a win time, did we?
Actually, I want to have win times available so that people can see it, and we don't have any this week.
Oh, we didn't prep a win time, so we're going.
I got a win time. I'll send you guys.
Yeah, well, win time moments are going to be visual. So if you have one, if you're listening or watching this, if you have a win time moment, send it to us at podcast@gankbushsquad.com, and we'll incorporate that into the show and make that a win time moment. So
win time TBD for this episode. Stay tuned for episode 77 now with full motion win time.
Oh yeah,
and we're gonna be giving away a code, $20 BattleNet code, right after the show ends, and then we'll be doing that next week too.
There you go.
So it requires chat participation because you're gonna have to answer a question. So if you're not logged in, log in now because you have a couple minutes before we actually ask the question.
Yep. And as a preview or a tease for next week, we're going to talk about how to solo lane. We're going to talk about team fight positioning, and also possibly, if there's time, to talk about ranking up in Hero League and how to win in Hero League. So there you go. More strategy stuff for the listeners. So.
I was reading chat. There is a lose time though.
Oh, okay.
I was playing with the win timers, and I was playing Stukov, and I was having a pretty good support time. I was carrying as a support, and then I said to them "Now that's how you play support," or something like that, and that's how you play a real support. And then Garrosh threw me over as well, and I died. That's as the sentence left my mouth. Garrosh threw me over.
Oh, just had to.
That's
your words.
It's fairly successful crow eating.
So yeah.
All right. Well, that's our show.
Okay.
Do I have to say it again, or is that good? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, friend just waving him off. No,
it's never good, but
the quality remains an issue, says Matt.
It always remains an issue, but I guess we're gonna.
I stopped recording, by the way, so we're.
All right.
So it's over.
All right.
We're still streaming.
No more.
We need to give out a code. All right. In chat.
In chat.
Oh, can they still hear us?
Yeah.
They can.
Type out the names of 7 supports. Do it. Correct spelling.
7?
Correct.
The first
spelling.
one to do it wins a code.
Jeez.
The first one to do it. 7
Copy
supports.
and paste from Hot Slugs.
Nope.
It needs to be
There needs to be proper grammar.
Yeah, I can totally tell that you made support, Bacon, that you asked that question.
It's going to show up in a
it needs to
different
be
font
one
'cause it was
sentence.
copied.
One
No.
sentence.
One
One
sentence.
sentence? What the hell is this?
What-
Jeopardy?
What commas?
Phrase it in the form of a
Please
question.
phrase the
With
form of a
commas.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, what commas? No, Grizzly,
They all-
that doesn't
yeah.
count. You just gotta be
They-
in
You
one.
gotta-
Bacon's got
Artist
an
took
app
off
that
There you go, Robin.
recognizes.
Robin.
I want proper capitalization and
All
punctuation.
right,
That's
We
on
had
a
it-
6. Ooh,
Wizard Critter,
7.
I think got it.
Oh man.
Wizard critter. Okay.
Oh, this is questionable though, Bacon, because there was a lot of changes to the stipulations whilst the code was getting out, going
Yeah,
out.
that-
That's gotta be laid out beforehand.
Nope.
Can't even speak English.
Oh, Grizzly says he's on a
Oh,
phone.
man.
I
Oh
can't even.
damn!
Got
Well, here's the
jokes.
thing. Locksley got 6, and then Wizard Critter got 7, which was the required amount.
Oh,
Critter
that
gets
is the quorum number of supports for the code.
You hit that enter button. So close to the comma.
Yeah, I'd have been eager too. I might have been premature.
Actually, wait, didn't Bacon want commas?
No,
that's
wait a minute. Oh, that was my demand.
Did you ask Grizzly was typing? Grizzly's like, I'm on a phone, you cunt.
Oh, the cashish being dispensed. What you should do, Bacon, is just put the code into chat, and whoever gets it first wins.
Oh,
Doing bad
maybe
math
that'll
somehow.
be
It's a free for all.
Yeah.
what we do next time. Just post it in the middle of the show. Just not even say anything and put a code in there.
Welcome to the Thunderdome.
All right, I'm taking the stream off. Bye bye, guys. Thank you.